Indeed, these are trying times for all our people. It is clear that no one is spared from this tragedy that has befallen us. Not even me, your governor, is spared. But this is not a time to despair nor give up. We must not allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by this crisis, no matter how challenging the situation may appear to be.
Yes, these are trying times for Bayelsa and some sections of Nigeria as we are experiencing the most severe case of flooding in our history as a nation. And Bayelsa, as one of the coastal states in the country, is one of the worst hit. Earlier this year, when the National Meteorological Agency warned that Nigeria would be hit by floods, nobody expected it to get to the magnitude it has reached in recent weeks, with about 25 states of the country's 36 states and parts of Abuja affected by rising flood waters. This edition of the program almost exclusively focuses on the state government's efforts to battle floods and keep the hopes of Bayelsans afloat. Welcome to Restoration Chronicles.
This month, Chairman Butu Community, Chief Alex Yenagoa Fans Club.
The week opened with a visit of the River State Governor and Chairman of the Nigeria's Governors Forum, Right Honorable Chibike Rotimi Amechi, to Governor Dixon over the flood situation in Bayelsa State. Governor Amechi said he decided to touch down in Yenagoa on his way to Indiana and other communities in River State to show sympathy on the scale of the flooding in Bayelsa State.
Just like as River State is affected by flood, in the same way Bayelsa is also affected by flood. We are neighbors, so there are some neighboring villages by Bayelsa. I decided first to visit the governor, show my sympathy on the scale of the flood.
In his remark, Governor Chibike Dixon called for concerted collaborative efforts among political leaders to alleviate the plight of flood-affected areas in the country. He expressed gratitude to his River State counterpart for taking time from his hectic schedule and the effects of the floods in coastal communities in his own state to empathize with Bayelsans.
I thank you for sympathizing or empathizing with us, and let me also reciprocate, or in the words of Indian, retaliate. by also sympathizing, because we are all affected. Even apart from it, anything happening in Bayelsa, I know that you will feel affected. The same way, any development in rivers, we are also affected. There's nothing that can separate Bayelsa and River State, but in terms of history and in terms of the geography.
On Tuesday, 9th October 2012, the State Executive Council held an emergency meeting at the Government House Banquet Hall, Yenagoa, where far-reaching decisions were taken to address the rising flood situation in the state. Amongst other issues addressed was the immediate and indefinite closure of all schools in the state as a measure to safeguard the lives of children and keep them away from possible dangers that could arise from the flood.
For some time now, this natural phenomenon has been ravaging in states, and so many communities in the state have been submerged by the flood, beginning from Esampo in Kulukmo Pokuma, Biseni in Yenagoa, and Masoma in southern Niger, and other places. And gradually, even the state capital here, the flood has come to attack us, and there is no refuge. We, as a government, we have to be responsive and responsible to attend to the needs of the people of the states, to be able to tell them that they gave us mandate to not only to rule, but also to take care of their welfare and their well-being. It's for this reason that this Executive Council was especially convened to take care of the needs of the emergency situation for the flood in the state, so that we could procure some funds to be able to assist the victims of the flood in the state.
The seriousness of the flood crisis necessitated a statewide broadcast by Governor Yenagoa just a few days after his first official broadcast as governor of Bayelsa State on October 1st, 2012.
Fellow Bayelsans, it is with a great sense of concern and deep empathy for our people that I address you this morning to share and identify with you all at a time like this. We are doing all we can to rescue the situation. You will recall that very early in the life of this administration, I authorized technical studies and initiated measures aimed at opening up the drains and water courses in and around the state capital, Yenagoa, to minimize the effects of the predicted heavy rains and floods this year. This has helped, no doubt, to mitigate the devastating effects occasioned by the perennial flooding in Yenagoa, especially considering the water levels have risen more than 10 meters above the usual flood levels. Since overflown the state several times since this incident started, I have seen firsthand the extent of damage and destruction caused by the flooding. I have seen our communities, large settlements of our people, and public institutions submerged. My first-hand assessment enabled us to determine that the best course of action was to order an immediate evacuation and the erection of relief camps. Consequently, relief camps for internally displaced persons have been established in every local government area of the state. 3 main camps have been set up in Yenagoa, namely the Samson Siasia Sports Complex, the helipad at Igbogene, and BDGS compound. I have directed the chairmen of the local government areas, working with the State Emergency Response Management Committee, to determine the necessity of more relief camps in each local government area. Where a community can find high grounds around it, they are encouraged to set up relief camps there without moving the people too far off. Such communities should, however, liaise with the committee to work out the logistics and modalities for doing so. Our concern, as you would expect, is firstly your safety. As displaced persons, we are concerned about how you can access food, drugs, and other forms of Medicare. To coordinate our efforts in what has since become a massive rescue effort, I have inaugurated the State Emergency Response Management Committee under the chairmanship of the Deputy Governor of the state. Government has since made some relief materials available to displaced persons through the committee. I assure you that with this high-level committee, which is working around the clock, there will be some level of relief and succor to our people. Please endeavor to get in touch with them through the following emergency hotlines we have established for easy communication. The lines are 070-2300-1002, 070-2300-1003, and 070-2300-1004, in that order. Based on the outcome of my on-the-spot assessment of the communities ravaged by the flood, the scale and the magnitude of the destruction, the normal budget channels cannot cope with this crisis. Accordingly, I have since written to the Speaker of the House of Assembly to reconvene the House to take my communications on the 2012 supplementary appropriation designed to enable us cope with this tragedy. Let me therefore thank the Speaker and members of the House of Assembly for their prompt response. There are 3 key areas I would like you, the people of this state, to note. The first is that you should exercise extra caution over the safety and security of your lives and properties and those of our children, and particularly pay special regards to the safety of vulnerable people, that is, women, children, the aged, and physically challenged. The security agencies are also displaced. We extend our sympathies and support to them as well. But even in this situation of difficulty, we would like to urge them to continue to do the job of providing security for which they have so distinguished themselves in this state. I have convened a meeting today of the State Security Council to assess the effect of this disaster on our security infrastructure, and also to fashion out a comprehensive security approach to this disaster. As you all know, this flood disaster will leave in its wake a trail of various communicable diseases, such as cholera, pneumonia, guinea worm infections, diarrhea, and increase in our susceptibility to malaria, amongst others. A lot of enlightenment and preventive measures are needed. I have thus directed the Ministry of Health, whose commissioner is chairman of the subcommittee on medical and sanitation, to devise appropriate measures to address these concerns. I have been briefed that committees have been set up in every local government area, even up to community levels, for this purpose. Emergency response teams have also been set up in every camp and local government area, and essential drugs and Medicare supplies have been provided. Notwithstanding all the steps that government has taken and will continue to take in your service, be reminded that you are all persons who have primary responsibility for your health, security, and safety. Do not forget also that at times like this, you should be ready to lend a helping hand to your fellow brothers and sisters in need. Thirdly, reports at my disposal indicate a growing scarcity of food and other essential commodities arising from the overflooding of the East-West Road, which is the major gateway into our state, and particularly into the state capital. This, coupled with the destruction of our farmlands, has created acute food shortages at the moment. Consequently, food prices have now soared beyond the reach of the ordinary person. I have directed the establishment of 3 storage sites in Yenagoa under the control of the Ministry of Agriculture. It has become clear that after the flood, there will be famine in our land. To forestall this impending tragedy, government has developed a robust plan to boost food production and ensure food security in the state. This would entail direct government involvement in the production of essential food items like cassava, maize, cocoyam, rice, plantain, and livestock, as well as provide support for individual farmers in the state. To this end, plans have been made to procure early maturing and high-yielding cassava stem cuttings and other inputs from local and international research institutes. Essentially, government's involvement in agriculture will be extensive, both now and in the future going forward. We use this opportunity, therefore, to call on all farmers and fishermen in the state to brace up for the challenges posed by the flood, as well as opportunities that our policy now presents.
Religious bodies, corporate establishments, and philanthropic Bayelsas have also been contributing their quota towards helping Bayelsas cope with the ravages of the flood. Churches in Bayelsa have constituted a flood outreach committee, which has so far donated about 250 bags of rice, 50 blankets, and cash to various relief camps in the state. Commending the special assistant for his thoughtfulness in convening the meeting at a time when government needed the support and prayers of the church most, Governor Dixon announced a donation of 15 million naira to the Flood Outreach Committee of the churches as a practical demonstration of his administration's readiness to sustain the existing government church collaboration to the service of humanity.
We have a tragedy in our hands, and I need the active involvement of the church and its leaders. One, to begin to manage a large number of displaced people. I don't want to call them refugees, but I want to meet with the Christian leaders, the church leaders, because I want the church to be directly also involved. So this afternoon, part of what I'm here to tell you is to renew that call for cooperation and collaboration between government and you, church leaders.
Governor Dixon urged church leaders to mobilize their members who have the requisite skills, especially the medical personnel, to go out to the nooks and crannies of the state to provide humanitarian services. On the spot, the Senior Special Assistant to the Governor on Religious Affairs, Reverend Samuel John Peters, stated that the meeting was convened for Christian leaders to seek God's intervention as well as discuss further pragmatic steps to address the flood menace.
I'm glad to announce to Your Excellency that the church here so far have raised 250 bags of rice from the church to support the relief materials that is being provided. We have also provided over 50 blankets, bottles of tomato, and some cash also from the church. They are trying to finalize all of that. This is to support what the government is already doing. We are feeling the pain because we pastor these people and we see what they are going through. And we also see the effort of the able leadership of our amiable governor. I must assure Your Excellency, the Christian leaders are solidly behind you and the church is impressed with your performance. Am I saying your heart? If I am saying it, I say it, amen. God bless you.
Also within the week, the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Desani Alison Madueke, paid a courtesy visit to Governor Dixon. Mrs. Alison Madueke, who noted that her visit was to see the flood situation for herself, described how she had flown over her village, Yenagoa, and other communities in a chopper, but could not land as the area has been completely submerged by the flood water.
At this point in time, Bayelsa State, His Excellency, are facing tremendous scourge because food supplies are being cut off. Issues such as health and hygiene are beginning to deteriorate. So we are actually facing a crisis situation, and it is my great expectation that we will put our heads together and come up with extremely robust strategic framework with which to